Hi and welcome to my Art Time channel. Today's video is my response to Rachel's prompt for the Artful Evidence Facebook group, and the prompt was tags. So what I've done, it has to be a 6x6 piece, so I've cut some cardstock down to 6x6 inches, and now I'm just putting on some bits and pieces of paper. There's some book text. There's some tissue paper that actually has a print on it. There's some scrapbook paper with some circly designs on there. So I'm just putting them on with my glue stick, making sure there's no white spaces. And the tag part of the piece today, doing the same thing, just putting on some paper, gluing it on. Now what I'm doing is just applying some colour paint, acrylic paint, with my fingers, and there's just different brands there. Just covering the whole piece. And when I put the blue on, I actually put way too much on, and I did think the blue was probably a little dark as well. So what I'm doing is toning it all down with some white gesso, just scraping it on with a palette knife, and just dried it off. Now stamping with a Kaiser craft stamp. It's just like one of my favourite ones, just like a tree trunk. Having a look where the tag will be going. Changing my mind again. And I decided that I'd actually put too much gesso and taken away too much of the colour. So just putting a little bit back on. Now what I decided to do was put a little bit more on the background. So I'm just stamping a flower, and it was a free stamp that I got with one of the card making magazines, and I'm using I think it's Violet Distress ink, and now just some green leaves to go with it. I think that's peeled paint, Distress ink. And a little bit of doodling with my black gel pen. And now for the tag, and I decided I'd go for a contrast colour here, so just smearing on some of the blue paint, Jane Davenport blue, and wiping a little bit off. Now I'm going to work on my image that's going onto the tag, and it's a little stamp of an owl. Again, it's a Kaiser craft stamp. And just using some StazOn ink. And I thought I would colour it in watercolour. love these watercolour paints. They're a Prima Odyssey, I think it is, but they're so vibrant. Okay, you can see I've chopped out a little bit to spare you from the boredom of me colouring it all in. And now I'm just fussy cutting around the edges. And I decided the background of the tag was a little boring, so I'm just dripping on some watercolour paint. And now stamping again with the background bark looking stamp and distressing the edges. I did rub it with a little bit of the distress ink too. It's a blue one, I'm not sure which one it's called. And what I'm doing here is just using some brown, I think it's chocolate dilutions paint, and I'm just painting some little wood embellishments that I have. They're supposed to be branches, even though they're leaves. We can pretend they're autumn leaves. And just a little bit of gold to brighten them up a little bit. Just having a look how I'm going to place them. Just breaking up the blue a little bit with some white acrylic paint now. And as you can see, just a little bit of distressing around the owl's edges and some glossy accents to stick it all down. And some little foam squares to put the owl down. And I'm just trying to place it so that the foam squares are actually at the part of where there is no wood leaves. I did have to sort of fiddle with them a little bit to get them right. And then just using the glossy accents to stick the rest down. Now I'm using my label maker to make my label or my sentiment, and a little bit of the distress ink to take away from the whiteness of the tag. I really like using the label maker to make the sentiments. The only problem I find is even though it's paper, or it says it's paper, it's quite glossy, so that things tend to take a little bit of time to dry, and quite often I smudge something, whether it's the edges or the colour that I'm putting over the top. But I'm too impatient to sit there and wait till it actually dries, because it does seem to take a long time, and usually by this point I just want to get the project finished. You can see I sort of did a couple of edges, put it down, grabbed another piece, put a couple of did another couple of edges, but I still ended up smudging a little bit anyway. And some final distressing with the black soot. Now just making sure that the hole in the tag is actually a hole. Little bit of white gel pen to brighten up the owl a little bit. And just some fibre threads. And now putting it all together. I really like working on the 6x6 pages. I like doing smaller projects. I find that I find it really challenging to do larger canvases or larger pages, but I find it easier, I guess, to do the smaller projects. And just using the foam squares again, and there we go. Just a little bit of edging of the sentiment. And a little bit of fussing around. And that's the end of the project. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you did like it, and bye for now.